Tiny little guy, so cute. So I'm gonna go ahead and float these guys first. I'm gonna try to remove this whole rock. Provide like a wider flow and place a little bit higher up in the water column. These are mainly for the amphibians. These all came from the 135 because today we're gonna say goodbye to one of the Derasa clams. In just a few minutes, we're gonna back up the small Derasa clam and bring it over to my reef sensei Jim. And the reason is that recently he expressed interest in trying clam again. And it just so happened that I have 3 Derasa clams here, and I don't need 3. So as you recall, the medium-sized one in the back came from Clammania during the Reef Palooza earlier this year. So it's been with me for a while already, so I definitely want to hold on to it, and obviously I like big clams, I cannot lie. So logically that leaves the small one. The small one's actually super cute. It's about the size of maybe an inch and a half. I've never seen Derasa this small, and it seems to be doing well. It's putting on new growth. You see the white in the shell, so that's a good sign. And it got a really nice pattern as well. But again, I have 3 Derasas. I would like some varieties. I do have a dream clam coming potentially later this year, Gigas. So apparently they're coming back into stock, I think in December, according to OIA, so I'm definitely gonna try to get a small one. So that's more reason for me to try to at least rehome one of these clams right here, because the consumption is gonna be insane for all these big clams going into the tank. We're also gonna back up this Paliphos right here. This is called the Angus of Athena and came from Joker Corals quite a while ago. This is actually, I think it could be the original plug, maybe, that this came from. Actually, it was actually right there. And this Pally really developed some awesome coloration under higher lights. And as you can see right here, well, the blue is not really cranking right now, but it's absolutely beautiful. So I'm really happy to be able to share this with him. So without further ado, I guess I'm gonna get stuff done. Here we go, little guy. Really little, actually. This clam is actually small enough to fit inside a specimen cup. Tiny little guy, so cute.
1 hour later.
Alright, we just got back from Jim and he actually hooked me up with 2 frags. Let's take a quick look before I add them to the tank. Milka Stylo. This one probably needs no introduction. It's really popular, quote-unquote, more common and beginner coral that I've been trying to find for a long time, actually. So I'm really happy that Jim actually has it. And I was like, yo, do you have any frag of it? And he was like, yep. And he got me a really nice big chunk. So thank you, Jim. I really appreciate it. So this second one, he actually does not know what it is. It's a green SPS. Almost looks like a slime ball that I have, but I'm not sure. So we'll get him in the tank and we'll see what happens. He said that this guy grows pretty tall, which kind of reminds me of the slime ball, actually. So I'm gonna go ahead and float these guys first, and then we're gonna start them off on the frag rack. And once the light comes on, I'll find a better spot for them, because these guys are under pretty high light in Jim's tank. So I think these guys can pretty much go anywhere in my tank, because at the top I'm hitting about 260 par. I think Jim's frag tank maybe even higher, so these guys should be able to go anywhere. Good morning, guys. It is now the morning and the coral had a chance to kind of settle into the tank. I want to give you guys a quick look before I kind of plant them. So first up, this I think is he mentioned this like an Elkhorn Monty. If I remember it wrong, I'll have it on screen here with the correct name. And to the left we have the Milka Stylo. And the interesting thing is that last night when I took a picture of this guy under regular light, it has really bright pink tip, almost like something else, but under LED light, as you can see, it has that Milka Stylo look, the blue polyps, blue skins with like white tips. So it's interesting how this looks under LED light versus under regular light, which it looks totally pink tip. Really cool coral. And I actually put in one of the extra little single frag plug holder in the back. That's the one that I used. Let's see, for those affiliates right there. So I put one right there. I think it would look nice if the Milka Stylo does swell in the back. And when it start growing, I'm gonna push down a little bit more, just so that it has a little bit more room to go up top. But I'm getting ahead of myself. These 2 guys, Milka Stylo going right there. This guy, I'm not sure where I want to put it yet. Jim told me that it actually grows pretty leggy, pretty tall. So I gotta think about a good place for it. Now, one really interesting idea that Daniel from New York gave me also yesterday is that I got a slime ball from him, and he said that slime ball and the goldenrod should actually play well together, and I could actually plant them close to each other so they'll intertwine. So I think maybe like this weekend or something like that, I'll break off a frag of the goldenrod and glue it close to the slime ball, just so that they can get close to each other and intertwine. I think that would make for a really interesting display. Just look at the color. Man, I really like these corals. like bright green, bright gold, awesome. And I see the Gorgonian where I ripped it out of is starting to grow back as well. So, oh man, all right, so that's another thing to address. But let's go ahead and get the frag to the single frag holder first. Mom, what you got there? So Emily went to Canada for a business trip and then she picked up some pets for the aquarium. Yeah! Oh my gosh, man. Kiss it.
Hey, stop.
Are they all alive? Yeah, they're all alive. They're still moving. Why are they corn? Do you feed them? Do you gut load them with corn first before you eat them?
Maybe.
3 weeks later.
Alright guys, today we are on a mission to take care of this big leather in the mangrove tank, and I'll show you why. The leather is completely engulfing the flow of the empty tank. As a result, we get this. The water is skipping over the leather, causing the whole water level to drop, and the pump starts sucking air. Look at this. And just messing with the whole water level, and even causing some water to splash out once in a while. So this is obviously the problem. Just want to show you how it looks from the front as well. Look, it's completely grown in front of the flow. That's crazy how much flow is taking on directly. That's so close. In terms of cutting, I need a really sharp pair of scissors. So I'm gonna sacrifice this one right here. Don't tell Emily. Once I use this here, if I did a lot of cut, I need to either just keep this for aquarium use or wash it really well. We'll see. Yeah, crazy. Look at this. It's too much of a good thing, huh? Look at the whole thing. It's like a palm. Dude, seriously, it's the size of a palm. Look at that. So I was able to kind of pry off the leather. I was able to pry off the leather. This much off the branch. And the branch here, I want to make sure I don't cut the branch. That would be really bad. Basically, if I damage the roots, it will have issue keeping the salt in the water out of the trunk and the leaves, and then it'll be really bad. So I want to make sure I do not cut the branch at all. So I peeled it off this much easier to cut. So let's get to it. Sharp 이거.冇啦呢個，犧牲咗啦。咁你唔好擺返落去，唔該你。唔擺㗎啦。
2 weeks later.
Hey, what's up, Reefers? I thought this was kind of cool to get on camera. So the light just came on, but as you can see here, we see this mucus that is coming off this nice large leather. So for leather corals, this is one of the things that they do. Basically, once in a while, they have like microalgae accumulating on the surface, and they will shed. Right? They shed the surface layer to kind of get rid of the algae, and then usually right after that it's gonna look beautiful. All the polyps will be out. You see the green polyps kind of coming out and pushing the mucus away. But the issue is that sometimes the mucus is not the most friendly towards the other corals in the tank. So usually when I see this, I try to get like a turkey baster, kind of suck it out, or just blow it off and then try to catch it whenever I could. But I thought it's kind of cool, and I want to film this on camera so you guys can see exactly what it looks like when people are saying that, oh yeah, leather shed or soft coral shed. This is exactly what it looks like. And I guess the Atlantic oyster blenny does not mind that one bit. Here we go, look at this. All the polyps popping back out, and you see all these things kind of like floating off. Yep, gotta capture those if I can. But leather goes through this period, like they'll look sad for a week or sometimes even 2 weeks, and then they'll shed the mucus and they look just like new. Perfect. My mission for this following couple of weeks is to kind of clean up this tank right here. There's a lot of clutter right here, just a big mess. This side I'm relatively happy with. I would like that leather to be a little bit higher up. It's pretty much done shedding. It's still a little bit coming out, but it's almost done. So this part I'm pretty happy with. This part we need to clean it up. Well, before we do that though, one thing I did pick up over Black Friday is this guy from Aquatics. This is one of the 3D printed guard for the Vortex MP10. I also bought 2 for MP40. I got 2 MP10 and 2 for MP40s. The one I have over the MP10 right now is kind of like a slip-on to guard against an enemy or other smaller fish get sucked up inside the Vortex. But this guy is a direct replacement, meaning that I can just undo that one, undo the factory guard and put this one on. The really added benefit that I want from this guard is the wider flow. They have a narrow flow version and a wide flow version. And because I'm only using an MP10 to really drive the flow for this tank on top of the in some ATO, I really want something with a wider flow, a little bit more gentle so I can crank up a little bit. And I feel like this may fit the bill. Now, if this is like last year, I may do a whole thing where I put like an air bubbler underneath to show the different flow pattern, but dude, honestly, I don't have time for stuff like that now. So I'm just gonna slap this on, see how the corals react, and I'll let you guys know my honest opinion. And yes, I did buy these. These are not sponsored. All right, so I got the original NEM guard off, and as you can see, it basically just kind of get placed over this. And it's a nice piece of bubble algae lodge in there. This comparison is much larger, but this also allowed me to place it a little bit closer to the surface. I'm not going to be sucking air in from the surface as well. At least that's what it claims. So we'll see how it actually goes. Let's see if this thing just kind of slips on. Like people claim that it's a direct replacement. Let's see. Yeah, there it is. Nice and snug. It's substantially larger. And this is the NEM guard that I had over the original. So you can kind of see in terms of size. It's definitely a little bit larger, but if it does provide like a wider flow and can place a little bit higher up in the water column, maybe a nice trade-off. It protrudes just as much as the original one, maybe a little bit more, but it's definitely way larger. All right, well, let's see if it's worth it. All right, look-wise, not terrible. Could be a little bit more low profile, but it is what it is. I'm gonna do some work inside the tank first, and then we'll turn it on and see how the flow actually perform with the wider flow. Look at this, guys. The Space Invader Pectinia all of a sudden decided that he does not like his neighbor. So he started sending out sweeper tentacles and already took down one of the Kryptonite candy canes polyp. Look at that. And it's working on the other two. So as soon as, oh look, the tentacle stuck, so it means stinging right now. So as soon as I'm done filming here, I'm gonna move the candy cane. I'm gonna keep the Space Invader there because it's already grown into the shape of that root. It looks kind of cool. Now look at this. Whoa. Look, this coral is pissed off at his neighbor. He's sending out sweeper tentacle to kill all the corals. Look at that. You see those?
Off my neighbors.
You piss off at your neighbor? What's wrong with your neighbors? This is a nice angle, by the way. Look at that double chin. Look at that double chin.
I have no idea
Look
who my
how
neighbor is.
Yeah, okay. Right, let me see. Do it again. Oh my lord, you look like one of those seals. There you go. One thing I've been doing these days is actually hatching baby brine shrimp, maybe like once a week, just as like a little treat for both the fish in the 135 and the mangrove tank. But these are mainly for the amphias. But the amphias have all converted to pellets and flakes, so this really isn't super necessary. I just feel like it's nice to have a variety, especially live food once in a while for the pets. Oh, I feel like I have not seen this fish tank in quite a while. As you know, my mom-in-law moved down to the basement, so I usually come down maybe once or twice a day just to kind of check up on things, refill, make sure everything's okay. I did try to move the purple or pink, hot pink Stylophora over here, and as you can see, it did not work well at all. Same thing with that piece right there, totally bleached out. That's a piece of goldenrod that broke off that I think I mentioned before. I put it right in front of flow. I think the flow is a little bit too rough. And interesting that we're talking about flow because we are about to kind of replace all the MP40s guard with these wide flow ones. So the flow is a little bit more gentle, and you actually hear a little clicking sound coming from the MP40. I have not changed. I have not cleaned the guard in so long, so I think this is actually the perfect time to switch out the guard. I think that also fixes the clicking sound as well. But it's unfortunate that the hot pink Stylophora did not like it. It was actually back there before. It's getting stung by the anemone, so I moved it up there. And then maybe 2 or 3 weeks later, it started bleaching in one corner. I'm like, uh-oh. So I moved it over here, thinking it's a better spot, but I just couldn't take it. Oh, it's just too late. Maybe being stung by an anemone was it's already on the way out, right? Now just kind of like a delay in terms of bleaching out. But that one is done, and goldenrod, that spot is obviously not good for it. I'll remove it, probably do another clipping on the other side of the rock. We'll try on the other side. So the good thing is that I got goldenrod coming out the wazoos these days. So I can probably take another cutting real soon and just plant it. And right now the light just turned on. Now I'll try to grab a shot of the tank like once it has a chance to open up in an hour or two, and I think it's gonna look much more impressive than this. But for now, I'm gonna change the guard for the MP10 and the MP40s. Problems. We got problems. The Rose Bubble-tip Anemone looks awesome right now, and especially after I put in the Urchin's wide flow MP40 guards, it seems to really like that more gentle flow and has expanded a lot more to the point where it's encroaching on the SPS island. Look at this. This one big one completely filled in the gap between the two rock, and if you look from the side, you can kind of see where the foot is and how it's stretched out to reach the nice gentle flow. Look at this. But as a result, it's kind of hitting the SPS over there. Now, this just happened today. I don't think it has really stung anything, but it's just a matter of time before it started doing some damage. All right, I'm gonna use this little piece of rock to see if I can create a barrier for the Rose Bubble-tip Anemone, at least for now. Alright guys, we're going in. Just want to show kind of like the size of the anemone in relation to my hand. I'm going to try to remove this whole rock. Let's see. This is too tough to do with one hand. I gotta put the camera down. I'll be right back. The deed is done. I tore up that side of the tank, pull out some rocks that's no longer necessary, and just push it as much as possible while still having a little space for me to run a magnetic algae scraper through, except for that bottom part, but I did the best I could. So I hope that that portion created enough of a space for the Bubble-tip Anemone, at least for now. So I know that it can probably come out and pop out that way, but I think I push it enough that it may be okay. I don't know, we'll give it a try. One thing that I'm slightly worried about is that as I'm moving that big piece of rock with the two anemone attached, I noticed that the big one is actually straddling two rocks. So I'm not sure if I tore the foot, but for Bubble-tip Anemone, they're so hardy, at least in my experience, that most likely it'll be okay. Or maybe it'll split into two. If that's the case, that may be better because it'll conform to the rockwork better instead of one giant thing is trying to fit. But we'll see how it goes. Right now, I am pretty happy with the escape actually. Opens up spacing. It seems like the tank feels a little bigger now that I push a whole rock a little bit further back and further to the right. We'll see how things goes. We'll see how things goes. We'll check back in a couple days.
1 week later.
All right, guys, a really quick look of the neat Aquatics Urchin or Limpets. The one is called the Limpet, one is called Urchin based on size. But I have these guys on the tank for about 2 weeks at this point. I'm ready to give you my first impression, but first, let's add a little brine shrimp for the fish, like the amphias. So like I mentioned in the past video, I like to hatch brine shrimp at least once a week just to give some like fresh food, fresh live food, and BBS is usually more nutritious than older brine shrimp, which is kind of like popcorn for fish. So it has been about 2 weeks or more since I've had these neat Aquatics 3D printed Vortex, I guess, a cage. So they claim that they provide a wider flow. And without doing any like scientific research or like testing, just based on what I'm seeing, how the coral looks in front of the pump, and I have to say, I do agree that it does what it claims to do. The flow does seems to be more gentle and seems to be affecting things a little bit further away from the flow pump that would have not otherwise. So I do like this purchase because, again, the reason I got this is for the wider flow, not so much keeping things from getting sucked in because I have a cage for those already, but it's for the wider flow. I want so that the pump is not shooting a cone of water directly at corals. I would prefer something a little bit more spread out. So this definitely does the trick. Once again, this is not based on any scientific test, but it's just strictly my observation on how the corals react after I swapped these things in 2 weeks ago. These do seem to do what they claim. The flow seems to be a lot more gentle, and as a result, I actually dialed up the intensity a little bit as well. And even with the intensity up, I think by maybe like 5%, if not more, I'm still not getting the same like intensity in the middle of the flow pattern as I did before, 5% less. But again, this once again is just based on strictly visual observation. I could be totally off base, but from what I'm seeing, seems to work, and I like it. It's something that I'll keep on the tank. There's a question of how difficult it is to keep clean. Do I need to clean these guys a lot more than before? that remains to be seen, because once again, I've only had this for what, a little bit more than 2 weeks, almost a 3-week mark, so time will tell. And I'll be updating you guys as I have more experience with them as well. But check this out. Look at the Rose Bubble-tip Anemone. I was able to shift the whole rock and then push the whole thing back, and that seems to be working for now. The leather, the Xenia, I mean, I'm sure they're not gonna be happy with the Bubble-tip Anemone always like in the face. But they've been there for a while. They've been interacting for a while. Seems okay. And what I really care about is that the Rose Bubble-tip Anemone is no longer touching the SPS over there. It seems like we gained about 6 inches. Or maybe like 4 or 5, and we'll see how it goes. If it really doesn't pan out, I mean, this guy is pretty easy to take out. It's on this piece of rock. I can kind of just chip that piece off and just give the whole anemone away. So that's no problem at all. My other concern was the Montipora was pretty close to the Rose Bubble-tip Anemone, but it looks like they kind of all stretch out and went towards the light, away from the Montipora. So that is excellent news. And look at all the fish just kind of picking out from the baby brine shrimp. Oh, you know what? I think it's almost feeding time, right? Yeah, oh, there we go. Yeah, the pump within the feeding tube turns on first. So that's when the fish all sense, oh, food is coming. They all start lining up. And then the drums start rolling. This is from Avast The Plank. It's a little bit pricey. It's like $200 at first. I'm like, do I need this? But I end up really liking it. Although, yes, it's still kind of pricey. But I really got this to do multiple small feedings a day for the amphias. But after keeping these amphias for a while, I feel like maybe just like once a day should be okay for these guys. These are the lighter tail. They're a little bit hardier. I got 6 of them. All 6 are super healthy and rambunctious. So that's excellent. Since today's focus is more on the mangrove tank, I'm not going to touch too much on the inhabitants of this tank, except the SPS. Man, they're growing. Look at this field of goat torches that just kind of been multiplying really quickly. Goat torches seems to grow well in my tank. And also, another thing that's growing really well in my tank is the goldenrod as well as the golf bonsai. These guys have, well, especially the golf bonsai, just encrusted under the rock and started shooting up. So that's excellent. And these hammers seems to be doing well as well. But anyways, this video is not going to be focusing too much on the 135 because for the most part, I've just been hands off. Oh, one thing that you guys did not know. Yep, I bought a hydros. More on that later, but let's go back to the mangrove tank.
2 weeks later.
Alright, reefers, this is the final chapter of this ridiculously long video in terms of how many days this video spanned. So in the beginning of this video, which is probably like a month and a half ago, I talked about kind of rescaping this whole small tank. So I did that about 2 weeks ago, and it gave a chance for the coral to kind of settle in a little bit so they get back to normal looking, although not all of them yet. You see that the green nymphia is not fully opened yet, and you see the other half of this chunk of leather is still kind of looking sad in the back, but you can see all the polyps are starting to peek out. So I think next week it's going to be in its full glory looking like this. It's going to fill in that spot nicely. But for that look, you have to tune in for the next video. And that's more important now than ever due to this irregular upload schedule to subscribe and also hit the notification. So when I post the next update, you get a notification and see how this tank as well as the 145-gallon tank progress. So these are the soft corals that I mounted. I basically super glued the leather. It comes on top, attached to a rock. I super glued it to a frag plug and put it right on top of this Aqua Rock 5 frag holder. And it works out beautifully in this tank. And in the back, I swing over to the back. The back one's a little bit tricky. So, because the back leather just kind of like free floating, does not come with any rock. So I used 3 toothpicks. I kind of cut them in half and then kind of just spiked it. So I speared the leather with the 3 toothpicks and kind of used them to kind of wedge it inside the this frag holder right here. Except this one accepts a single frag plug. So with the 3 toothpicks, it's kind of perfect. You just wedge in there, apply a little bit of super glue on the toothpick just so that it stays in place. And so far it has been working really well. And the green pole stool, that's absolutely beautiful. I moved from the 135-gallon tank. Also, that guy right there, as well as these guys. These all came from the 135 because one day I decided that it's a little risky to keep a lot of soft corals in that tank with all those SPS, because as you know, sometimes soft coral, when they're fighting for space, they may release some chemical that may disturb other corals, and certain things like euphyllias and SPS may be a little bit more susceptible to those kind of chemicals. So I moved kind of as much of the soft corals as I could into this tank, and I used three little packs of those Chemi-Clean Blue Nano. Usually I just run one, but due to the re-scaping, I felt like I disturbed a lot of things. I toss in 2 more just in case, because they have like activated carbon as well, in case anything get pissed off. And this one right here, I actually scraped the glass before I started filming, so that's why it's kind of pissed off. It's all closed up. But usually Gorgonians is really happy in this tank, and also in the back you kind of spy the Colorado Sunburst anemone I got from Thirsty's Reef. Thank you once again. It has been in the tank for about 2 months at this point, maybe a little bit more. So the first couple days is super intense looking, probably because it still has the original coloration coming from Thirsty's Reef. It was running like higher power and stuff like that. But then since then it has dulled out quite a bit to like almost like a regular rainbow. But then after that it started coloring back up again. You see on the tips, you got that nice burning yellow coming back in. So I think like given a couple more weeks, it should color back up. Maybe not as intense as before, because this is kind of like a mixed reef, or mostly softy. It's pretty much a softy tank at this point. So the light is not as intense as like an SPS tank, but still, I'm looking forward to see how that Bubble-tip Anemone develops as things goes. And over here, one thing to note is that after I swapped in the wider flow guard for the MP10, the Space Invaders, man, started sending out stinging tentacles like this. This is already being kind of generous to his neighbor, kind of like that one right there. Normally, there's quite a few of these guys just kind of waving the waves, just kind of like stinging people. That's this coral's way of kind of fighting for Rio stage, and it looks like it's starting to wrap around the mangrove roots, which is kind of cool. I thought about moving this guy somewhere else, but I cannot really think of a better place than where it is right now, so I'm just gonna leave it, and I've just been trying to move the other corals out of the way for it. And right here we see the Japanese pink Nymphaeus doing well. It's not a fast grower, but it is definitely growing. And I have the lemon yellow one somewhere in the back. It got kind of shuffled to the back while I'm like re-scaping the whole thing. I was like, all right, let me move it there. I'll move it back up once I get everything else settled. So it's in there somewhere. So we'll have to bring that back out. And the kryptonite candy cane has taken quite a bit of damage. Initially, it's right here. So that's why I lost those 2 polyps right there. It got stung. Actually, I think it could come back. We have enough tissue. The mouth is still there, so it could come back. They're pretty resilient. But it looks like even moving it there may not be enough. I may have to move it further up, or maybe just move the kryptonite candy cane to the 135, because the ones in there, even though it's not poofy, is doing really well. It's growing really fast. Anyways, I think this video is plenty long enough, and I'm sorry it takes me so long to kind of pull these together to bring it to you guys on this channel. Life has just been hectic, but I think it's getting a little better, and I feel like it's kind of silly for me to kind of like store up all these videos for a month and a half and 2 months time and then release them all at once, because by the time I have this to send you guys, there's already new developments and things are looking totally different. So I don't know, I'll try to do my best to kind of pump out video a little bit more frequently than like a month and a half, 2 months each time, just so that there's a little bit more occurrence. And I guess I probably should show you how the mangrove look right now, right? It has grown pretty decent amount. I think it at least put out 2 levels of leaves since the last time we talked about this tank. So I'm really happy with the progress of the mangrove tree. And I feel like it's almost time to maybe trim certain ones back, like this one, just kind of like out here chilling. I don't know, man. But a lot of things I want to talk about. Yeah, if I keep saving and keep storing contents, man, it's gonna be like 2-3 months before I push a video out. So let me just kind of cap it off right here, and I'll just launch this onto the channel and catch up with you guys. With that said, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. It is kind of long, it is kind of scatterbrained, but that's how I have been so far this couple months. But it is getting better. Hopefully I'll see you a little bit more frequently. Hope you and your family have a beautiful holidays, and enjoy the rest of this year, and have a fantastic beginning of 2022. I'll see you next year. Forgot to add, fish are doing well. Shanghai Cardinals has been breeding non-stop, but so far the male has not carried the egg for over 3 or 4 days. The Blenny is still alive and kicking in this tank as well.